Welcome to Brother from Another. Jim Trotter is here. Jim Trotter of The Athletic is here in the building. And I'm sure The Athletic, along with everybody else, had plenty to say about this performance from Jimmy Butler. And Jim, I was thinking about this, and I really can't come up with one. I can't come up with one in basketball or any other sport where somebody is consistently one of the best players in the NBA. Now, listen, Jimmy Butler is no bum in the regular season. Right. This whole thing, playoff Jimmy, like, I think that's why he kind of looks at it like, wait a minute, y'all know my resume? I've been on all defensive teams. I've been an all-star. I've been all NBA. I mean, I ain't new that you follow the sport. I've been doing my thing. But I can't think of somebody who is a top 12, top 15, I call him top 15. Since he's all NBA, 3 all NBA teams, let's just say top 15. Top 15 player in the league who becomes a top 5 player in the league when the playoffs start. Like, can you think of anybody who, I can't think of anybody who, like Jimmy Butler, can you?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I saw the first quarter yesterday and then I missed the rest of the game because I was flying home from Jamaica for my daughter's wedding. And so when I landed,
we gotta talk about that later.
When I landed and I saw what went down, I was just like, oh my God, Jimmy MFing Butler. And it got me to thinking about players who, in my memory, are guys who are good during the regular season and then they go to another level when we get to the playoffs, right? And so in basketball, I thought about a guy like Robert Horry, right? Who, good player during the regular season, whatever, gets to the playoffs, and when it comes to that clutch moment or that clutch shot, that's how he gets that nickname, Big Shot Bob.
Big Shot Bob.
He produces. Yeah. And, his numbers go up. In the finals, he has his highest scoring average. It's not that they're high anyway, but it's just those clutch moments. In football, I thought about a guy like Terrell Davis, who averaged, 97 and a half yards in the regular season. And then you look at his 8 postseason games, and he averaged 142.5 rushing. So he went up by That's 45 yards a game in the postseason. 8 playoff games, he was over 100 yards in every one of them except the first one. And in that one, he had 91 yards because they sat him in the fourth quarter because they were so far ahead. Otherwise, he'd be 8 for 8 in terms of 100+ yards in the playoffs. And then the other name that came to mind for me, and you would know this one, Michael, is David Ortiz, Poppy. That guy who, when the moment presents itself in the playoffs, it's like that's the guy as an opponent you do not want to see, right? So just quickly to my mind, those are like 3 names that came to mind me in terms of guys who elevated their play either statistically in terms of the numbers or just in terms of the moment being able to deliver in those clutch moments.
I knew you'd be able to do it. See, Terrell Davis is a great one. David Ortiz, that's a great one. So many moments. And Robert Horry is a good one. But it doesn't quite capture, it's a good one. Because what Robert Horry is good at, he was, not the complimentary players should be dismissed, but he was a compliment to the main show. Absolutely. So Robert Horry was making shots when Akeem was the draw. He was making shots with Shaq and Kobe and Tim Duncan. Like all those championships, he was along for the ride. Jimmy Butler is the cab. To quote Chris Rock from back in the day. I mean, he's the guy. I mean, he is the ride.
This is what blew me away, Michael. When I landed, like I said, the first quarter I think he had 22 in the first quarter. And then I looked at the fourth quarter, they're down by 11. He re-enters the game with, I think, just over 8 minutes left. And he scores 21 points from that point on to overcome that 11-point deficit and lead them to a win. Jimmy Butler is just phenomenal when you get to that moment. And I heard in the lead-in where Michael Smith said if he had to choose one player, in the playoffs in that moment that you would put the ball in his hands in terms of that big game, it would be Jimmy Butler. And I tell you what, it's hard to disagree with that when you look at how he elevates his level of play and those around him. And he's doing this with 2 key players down. for the Heat. So as a fan watching this, what do you always say? And I know I use a lot of football analogies, but like a Bill Belichick says, we're going to take away your best player and we're going to make everybody else beat us. Well, when I'm looking at the Miami Heat, I'm saying that is their best player. How is it that you cannot take away that one guy and make everybody else beat you? Is it just the greatness of Jimmy Butler? Or is there a deficiency there when it comes up to scheming him defensively in terms of the Bucks?
And this is all, it's a great question. This is all that matters to me. And I know you can't always figure this out when you're talking about regular season awards. That's funny right there. Josiah Johnson. Josiah
he does a great
never
job.
misses. He never misses. He doesn't miss. So, and for those listening on Sirius XM Channel 85, to put you in on a joke, it's a scene from Get Out after they hit the deer. And the character, and Chris's character is there looking like, oh, what happened? Let me go check out this wounded animal. Who wasn't dead though. The animal was not killed. And so the Milwaukee Bucks, this buck is not dead. This buck is severely injured, down 1-3, not down 3-1, down 1-3 from the Bucks' perspective, with one of the best players in the world in their own right. The Bucks have one of the best players in Giannis. He had a triple-double last night, and nobody's talking about it today. He was back. He played hurt. I'm sure he is not 100% with that back injury that he suffered in Game 1. They came back and they won Game 2 emphatically without Giannis. They lose Game 2, and then here's Giannis for they lose Game 3, excuse me, and then here's Giannis for Game 4. And Jim, not only do they have Giannis for Game 4, they have Giannis. Game 4, they're up 14 points in the fourth quarter. They're up 12 points with 6 minutes to play. Come on. I mean, we're talking about Jimmy Butler today. Can both things be true? Tell me if I'm being disrespectful.
No.
Jimmy Butler was amazing, and the Bucks choked.
No. Both things can. Yeah, both things can be true. And that was my point to you saying he is a great player when it comes to the postseason. But how is it that defensively you do not take him away? I just don't. I don't understand it. I'm not one of these basketball experts who can explain that to you, because if you want to get the ball out of Jimmy Butler's hands, I have to believe that you can scheme that up to do that and make these other players beat you. But here's the thing, and I don't know, because I have not been in the building to interview these folks for this, Michael, but I'll ask this question. And with no disrespect to the Miami Heat, but do you think the Bucks took them lightly coming in, knowing that Miami barely got in the playoffs, as it were? You know?
Right.
And so you're thinking as a number one seed, man, these guys barely made it in. They got one player we really got to be concerned about. Basically, we're going to roll the ball out and we're going to win, right? And now Jimmy Butler and Spo and the rest say, hold on a second. Styles make fights. And we feel we match up pretty well with you. So I'm curious to see, and your basketball knowledge is greater than mine in terms of you having covered the NBA for as long as you did. But is this something where the Bucks can flip that switch down 3-1 and say, we can still come back and win this series?
They have to believe that, but this is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because it's not like you're dealing with, it's kind of goes back to what we were talking about off the top. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, you're up 3-1. If you're down 3-1. And you're the number one seed in basketball. If you just look at it that way, you're the number one seed, you're down, and you've got an MVP on your roster. You got a multiple MVP, defensive player of the year on your roster. You have won a championship recently. And you're facing a team that has not won a championship since LeBron and D. Wade and Chris Bosh were there. You would feel confident. 1 seed versus an 8 seed. You'd feel confident. Except Most 18, most 8 seeds don't have Jimmy Butler. I left out the Jimmy Butler part. So most of the time, that 8 seed, they are there. They're looking up at you. You've got superior talent to them, and so you're feeling pretty good. And I do think Milwaukee's talent, their overall talent, is better than Miami's. Miami started last night. The starting lineup. There was someone called a Gabe Vincent. Okay.
Why
there
you
was someone called
a man like that?
I know.
Like
I just gotta do it. I gotta do it. There was someone called a Max Strus.
Hey, Max is a big reason they're in these playoffs.
Yeah.
The way he played in those play-in games. Kevin
Love looked like a walking Just for Men commercial, salt and pepper. He started last night. I mean, it is not. And then you have Bam, and you had Jimmy Butler. So Milwaukee, they got it all. Milwaukee got Giannis, and you got Brook Lopez, who was balling last night, and you got Middleton, you got Holiday. I mean, they are a deep team. They had some serious winning streaks during the regular season. They're the number 1 seed. It was not by accident. It's not a fluke. They played great offensively and defensively for most of the season. As Eric Spoelstra said after the game, we have great respect for their championship DNA. They do have championship DNA, but they have run into something that other teams have witnessed, other teams have experienced, but they can't explain it to you. It's one of those, hey, you had to be there. Because when Jimmy Butler in the bubble, when they played the Lakers in the finals, Lakers won it in 6, but I'm sure the Lakers can tell you, you got to be there. Celtics last year, Eastern Conference Finals. Celtics have a better roster than the Miami Heat. They're there. They're cruising along in Game 7, very similarly to last night. They're cruising along in Game 7. Hey, they're about to go to the NBA Finals. All of a sudden, the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler, start to go nuts. And Jimmy Butler takes a 3 that could have sent the Heat to the NBA Finals. He took a 3 basically for the win, and he missed it. But the game before, he forced the Game 7. Boston's like, okay, we got Miami coming back Game 6. We're better than they are. Let's make quick work. Garden's ready to celebrate. Jimmy puts 40, I think he put 45 on him then. 40
Let me ask you this.
He's
you
amazing.
Heard Charles Barkley.
He's amazing.
You heard Charles Barkley say greatest performance he's seen on television, right? LeBron's game against the Pistons he saw in person, greatest he saw in person. Where would you rank this one? You've watched a lot of basketball, Michael Holley. You know a lot of basketball. Where do you put this one? And I know we got the Jordan 63 game against the Celtics.
Yeah.
Where do you put this performance?
It's got to be somewhere in the top 10. Am I wrong for grading on a curve a little bit? I'm not taking away from it. It's an amazing moment. But I would say, okay, is Jimmy Butler 56 first round to put his team up 3-1, is that more impressive? Even though it's 56 points, is that more impressive, Miami Heat fans? You tell me, Miami Heat fans out there, is it more impressive than the Heat down in 2006, down 2-0 to the Mavericks? Dwayne Wade in those first 2 games, second-year guy, first 2 games, I remember some people saying, hey, the moment's too big for Miami, the moment's too big for this young guy, Dwayne Wade. Then Dwayne Wade goes off and has a consecutive 40-plus point games. They couldn't say, every time he get into the lane, he either scored or they sent him to the line. And they don't lose another game. But I'm saying, right, one of those. How about Game 6? How about Jan? Okay, I would say Dwayne Wade, Game 4, 5, 6, NBA Finals 2006. Giannis, Game 6, 2021 Finals. 50 points in the NBA Finals to clinch. I got to put that one above this one.
I'm going to give you –
This is in the top 10. This is in the top 10, but it's not my one. It's not my one, though.
What's your one?
Right now, off the top of my head, I'm going to say Giannis. Giannis, the 50 to clinch. 50 to clinch. knowing what he went through at the beginning of the series before he was hurt, and he wasn't quite right when he was playing in like game 2, game 3. They were also down zip 2, didn't lose another game, win 4 straight, the 4th straight win, the clincher with the 50-point game, and shooting free throws well when he struggled earlier in the series. I may give the edge to Giannis in that one. What's your one?
Yeah,
I want to hear this. There's so many good ones. I want to hear yours.
Exactly. There are so many good ones. I don't know that there is a wrong answer. But for me, I showing my age again, I think back to NBA Finals, Game 6, Lakers, Sixers. Kareem is out. Magic steps in at center and goes for, what was it, 42, 15,
triple-double.
I think, something like that. Was it triple-double?
Yep.
Something like that?
Oh, no, you're right. You know what? You're right. It was not a triple-double, but I think you're right. I think it was 42 and 15 for Magic, playing center.
And 7, I believe. Yeah, playing center. Stepped in for Kareem as a rookie, which was just phenomenal. And the other one I think about here, just in terms of singular performance, and this one isn't even an entire game, it's just a quarter, was Klay Thompson with first quarter. What did he put up, 37, I think? Something along those lines. That was just a phenomenal shooting performance that set an NBA record. So, but I would say for me, right, Magic's performance as a rookie, stepping in to play center in an NBA Finals game, a clinching game at that, on the road was just amazing.
There's some good ones, and we'll see what happens with the Milwaukee Bucks, the number 1 seed, best record in the NBA, now facing a 3-1 deficit. On the flip side, we're going to talk to somebody who roots for a team that is up 3-1 in their first round series, and I just can't believe it. I mean, I can't believe the stars are aligning. The New York Knicks are in the playoffs, and they're on the verge of winning their series. First time in years. I think it may be the second time in 20-some years they're going to advance to the second round. Maybe. We got Ashley and Nicole Moss coming up next. Maybe, Ashley. Maybe it's going to happen. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.